All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. My name is Todd Brous. I'm your host for the evening, and I'm here with Susan Schultz and Ashley Wilson, and we would like to welcome everyone to HBAP Startups. So let's get started. For those of you who are new to the Startups group, we have a few announcements at the beginning of each meeting. We'll do some short networking breakout rooms, and then we'll come back together for our main event. And first off is our mission. Did I just say first off? Yes, I did. First off is our mission. We're here to help foster and fortify an innovation and entrepreneur community coming out of the Harvard Business Analytics program. And our goal is to provide our members with the tools, knowledge, leadership, and confidence necessary to create and grow their businesses from the ground up. I am from Long Island, and that's how I speak. Susan.
And it is one of the best accents in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there are a bunch of different ways to get and stay in touch with us. There's our website, there's the HBAP website, there's our YouTube where we post our speakers' presentations as long as they give us permission to. There's a newsletter. If you haven't signed up yet, sign up and you will get alerts on all of this stuff. We have a Slack channel if you're on the HBAP Slack. And always bring somebody that you think might be interested in joining or participating in this really cool community that we have. And then just a reminder, as long as the presenter gives us permission, all the recordings will be posted publicly on YouTube. And so upcoming, so next week, we're still looking at who's going to come. We've had a little bit of change in a couple of the speakers that were going to come, but no worries about that. We'll do something really cool as usual. And then June 9th is Amanda Fetch, our own Amanda Fetch, talking about the misconceptions of Gen AI, which ought to be really, really cool. And then on June 26th, thanks to Kelly, Christy Jenkins, who is done so many amazing things. She has been in the top 10 athlete in the world in 3 different sports. She's a co-founder of a sports club. She's a VC manager, and she's a mindset speaker that talks about what does it take to have a successful mind from an athlete and a startup and a VC perspective. And she's going to come and talk to us on the 26th. So ought to be a really, really interesting session.
Yeah, sorry about the next week. We have to figure that out.
Yeah, we will.
Next one.
Yep. So just in the spirit of our being an inclusive community, as we all know, we just represent here a place for collaboration and confidentiality and trust. And as always, all rights are reserved by the presenter, and we follow the honor codes of the organizations that we belong to. And always a reminder of the modified Francis Fry feedback, which is just don't say anything nasty or mean, just be positive, because that works the best for speakers to get positive reinforcement and positive feedback. And then of course, no personal recordings because the rights of the presenter, we need to preserve them. And then anything conflict of interest, any confidentiality, anything you're worried about, just reach out to Todd, me, and Ashley, and we will help you figure it out.
And I don't know if anybody's here who's new. I see a couple of new names or names that I haven't seen in a while, but if anybody wants to raise their hand and introduce themselves. All right, going once, going twice. All right. Let's do some breakout rooms. I think this is going to work. I'm not sure. Well, hopefully it'll work. I'll see you in a few. All right, I hope everyone had a good time in their breakout rooms. Just as a little reminder, please do stick around for some overtime after the live session tonight. This recording, I'm going to be recording this. I might not be posting this publicly, so we'll see how that goes. I do intend to use this content for my class. And do please fill out the survey that shows up when you exit Zoom. We are data people. We love that information. That's that. So tonight, we just let me stop sharing for a second and pull up my other deck. We did have to reschedule our topic tonight. Nick apologizes. He had a last minute family thing. So we will get him, we will reschedule his session in the future. But tonight, we're going to be talking about, well, we'll see what we're going to be talking about, a live session on artificial intelligence and getting rid of the no joy work. And we'll follow up on the fun things that we did during the AI conference. All right, I'm trying to talk and figure out how to share my screen all at the same time. And I'm struggling. Okay, here we go. I think I found it. Google Chrome. All right, I hope you guys can see this. So I'm going to be running this very similar to the way, let me adjust this screen a little bit, make my life a little easier here. We're going to run this very similar to the way we've done Harvard Business School business case studies in the past. Again, I know there was no reading, so this is a hybrid version of that. But it's a topic that most of us are already familiar with, so we'll figure that one out. And I want to just get started with, I asked GPT-4o what to call this live session, and it came up with dozens of different responses. And one of them was AI is your new BFF, boring tasks be gone. And then bye-bye, no joy work, embrace the future of fun. And then there was the non-existent future of work, like the non-existent future of work, which I thought was really interesting. And then there's the no joy future of work. So there's just no joy in the future of work. So we'll see how that goes. And just, I guess, but first, before we really get into this, a little shameless plug for my course. Registration is now open for the summer session. It's all on Zoom, 10 weeks, $300. Please spread the words to your friends. If you know a creative who's kind of freaking out over artificial intelligence, then I want them in my class. I will definitely love to get that input. Let me put the link to my class into the Zoom chat just so you could spread the word. I definitely would appreciate that. So now let's dive into this. Most of you are familiar with, I quote Kareem Lakhani all the time, the marginal cost of cognition and creativity is dropping to zero. And this is, many of you already seen this. This is a sticker I made. I was handing it out at the conference. That kind of goes into attempts to really explain what that means. The marginal cost of cognition and creativity is dropping to $0. What does that mean? And if you look on the axes here, on the x-axis, we've got cognition and creativity. That's understanding and creating things. And on the vertical axis, we've got cost. And this blue line represents artificial intelligence, how the cost is exponentially decreasing to understand things and create things. That's the blue line. So with AI, that marginal cost of understanding things and creating things is going to near $0. And Kareem explains this in the context of sending an email or a photo or a video across the globe. It costs us marginally nothing to do so. All we need is a laptop or a smartphone and internet access, and we can send that information globally. Now, the green line, this is us. This is humans. This is over time. It is expensive for us to understand and create things. We're born. We learn to crawl. We learn to walk. We learn to speak. We go to school. We go to college. We get a degree. We go back to school. We come to HBAP. It takes us time to learn and get experience and practice the things that we do to create and to understand things. And then, of course, this red line here is humans with AI. The question that's kind of still remaining is what's not completely clear is how does this red curve drop? How far does this go? And there's a lot of different debates on this hypothesis of what's the actual cost of humans with AI. So we'll see. And again, one of the questions that I ask my students constantly is, what does this universe look like? And tonight, I hope to start to tackle some of that. What happens to the economy, work, education, art, design, all of those things. And I don't have clear answers, but that's stuff for overtime. Now, there are currently 3 big effects happening with AI. This is one of the things that was discussed at the conference. There's augmentation effects, replacement effects, and transformation effects. Now, the augmentation effects, well, that's the humans with AI. We're augmented by artificial intelligence. This refers to those tools that enhance human productivity by assisting with the tasks and increasing the overall efficiency and output and productivity of people. This should free up people to focus on more strategic areas of their work. And then there's the second thing is the replacement effects. Maybe the cost for human plus AI could be much lower by now. Yes, Mafe, we don't know, or I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. So yes, the replacement effects, well, this is the automation of tasks. This is leading to the replacement of jobs. This occurs when generative AI systems will, fully take over for the tasks that were previously performed by people. And this would lead to job displacement in most situations. We've seen this throughout history, like the industrial revolution, automation, machines, they take over assembly line jobs. There's nothing new here. Like these are not the droids you're looking for. Move along. Now while this leads to greater efficiency and lower costs for businesses, it also raises concerns about unemployment and the need for reskilling displaced workers. And then this third one is the transformation effects. This is what makes me drool. This keeps me up. This excites me to no end. Transformation. This refers to the creation of entirely new tasks, new roles, new business models, new industries, new ecosystems that will arise as a direct result of what we have in generative AI. This fundamentally changes the nature of work and the economy and businesses. So those are the three things that we're kind of seeing nowadays. All right, so let me get to the point. At the conference, Mary Erdos, the CEO of Asset and Wealth Management at JP Morgan Chase, referred to one of her objectives is to get rid of no joy work. And I felt that this was really profound. And so today we're going to discuss what this means for organizations, for leaders, for startups, and for workers. So now to get us started in this conversation, we need to begin with a definition. So what is no joy work exactly? And this is a question that I want to pose to the group here. How do you define no joy work? So I can cold call on people if you want to raise your hand. I would love to know, how do we define this this no joy work? Anyone want to take a stab? Because I'll cold call. Susan, I'm cold calling you. So,
Yeah, no joy work is the mundane work that takes away from us doing the kind of work that adds value.
so is all work that you're doing not? Let me ask the question: isn't all work that you're doing valuable?
Some of it feels not so valuable, like
Okay.
very not valuable compared to other kinds. So there's a spectrum of value at work, and this is the work that is on the low end of the spectrum.
Okay. I love that. Victor.
Yes, I was going to say it depends.
Of course.
Um,
You win.
but
Session's over.
what I mean by that is from her context of being in a financial environment, no joy work could be really defined by automatable work, as
Okay.
opposed to in automatable with an uplift to the person who was previously doing the work, so that they have another opportunity to upskill and what have you. But
Okay.
in manufacturing, for example, you may have people who find great satisfaction in doing their particular piece on a production line or their particular piece in a supply chain or what have you.
Yep.
So from that context, I think that's where it depends comes from. But I think the general concept is, and I'll also say this is my impression of what she was trying to say at the conference. It has a lot to do with the, and Susan, I believe you used the word repetitive tasks that that don't bring any particular satisfaction, but they need to be done. They need to be done accurately and etc.
So, okay. And I like that. Tasks without satisfaction, but how do you define that satisfaction, Victor?
Well, it depends.
Okay, it depends. Good. Yeah, you win. I give up.
No,
Satisfaction.
seriously speaking, you know, from a leadership perspective, I think our roles are to provide the resources and environments for our staff to achieve uh, tasks at any level in the organization. And some of those tasks provide personal satisfaction. Some of them provide a reward to being a contributor to the overall operation. I think, again, in manufacturing, I tried to instill a concept that there is no ranking of work. Everybody's a piece of this machine that provides a product or service to the customer. And so, not machine in the mechanized way, but you're a piece of something bigger than yourself. And being in that example in the medical device field, there was a lot of personal satisfaction in knowing that somebody was going to be diagnosed and possibly healed by every aspect of the company that played a part in getting that instrument in the hands of a practitioner. So even in the again, production line per se, of disassembly and repair of an instrument, there was a lot of pride and satisfaction, what I think you would call joy work, even though to an outsider it might look like repetitive, no joy work.
Okay. And
So
that,
that's it truly does depend. And while you're getting other feedback, I'm going to think about if there's a way to standardize that answer. I don't know. I don't know that there is.
in fact, that's one of the things that I hope we can try and get some insight into. Victor, thank you. Sri, and then we'll go to Garrett.
Yeah, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different results. Heard this, right? Supposedly quoted by Einstein, right? So that's like no joy work. You do the same thing, you expect the same thing. Come on, it's so boring, right?
I got to push
So
back
what
on
can
that
you
though,
do?
because
Yeah.
if you're doing something repetitive and you enjoy that work, that task, why is it no joy? It's in the whole, it's in the eyes of that person.
Because you expect some, like as we say, masala, some kind of something to spice things up. So that I'll give you a kind of a mitigation for that, taking Victor's lead on manufacturing. The 4M principle works very well here: the man, the method, machine, materials. Right? Man could be
Method,
man.
I'm not familiar with this. Man, method, machine,
Materials, right? The
okay.
tools that you use is the machine. The materials is the raw materials, whatever they use. The method is the framework, methodology, and the process that you adopt. Man is the human. Human means that it could be, men, women, whatever, right? So basically, the 4M method is a very interesting principle that is adopted for efficiency, gain, and productivity. So if you follow a process, if the process fails, you can always tweak it and makes it interesting. So you talk about AI today, you can see by leveraging the AI, generative AI, and all this new technique and innovation, you are definitely bound to gain. If you fail, you learn. So make it interesting.
Very interesting. I like that. All right. Thanks for that. The 4Ms. I have homework to do, Sri. Garrett.
So, like Kelly says, it's kind of you can have joy in everything that you're doing, but I think everyone has a different perspective. You could love to cook, and then you have a big mess in the kitchen, and then you have to clean it up, right? So it's something that has to be done, but it doesn't give you value at the point of doing it, right? So even if it gives value to someone else, the next person that goes in the kitchen, it doesn't give you value. So I'm not stoked that I have to clean, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have to for the next person. If that makes sense. Like it provides little value to me, but to the next person it does, so it has to be done.
Interesting. So the characteristics of this no joy work are subjective, is what I'm hearing from
It's
everyone.
subjective, yeah. Cause I mean, for example, my pops loves to clean. He doesn't like to cook, right? So it just depends on who's in the kitchen at that time and who's doing the job. But if you're like asking a specific person, it's subjective and yeah, purely subjective.
I love this. And Lebre, that's a beautiful thing. Oops, let me paste that into the thing here. No joy work is equal to having to clean up CSV files before doing the analytics. So Kelly, you keep putting in the Zoom chat here. Let's call on you. You got some gems in here. You wondered if Mary actually understands this concept at the rank and file level, and I think that's one of the reasons why this has been such a topic of conversation since the conference. And What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think Mary doesn't understand it. I'm pretty sure she doesn't understand it. And I think there's probably very few of us in here that really understand it. I mean, we've got, as Garrett knows, because that's where he started my company, he started in the warehouse. We got people who love their job in the warehouse, but we tend to look at no joy from our lofty, positions as those things that we would never want to do. But I think when we go down this path and we start talking about this sort of thing, we're at a significant risk of eliminating jobs, because this is ultimately what this conversation is, AI.
Yep.
Eliminating jobs from the people who most need them, eliminating jobs from people who are least able to afford going out there into the workplace, and eliminating jobs that there's a real economy in the jobs that are mundane and that are repetitive, and that people actually do take pride in them. And I just think that we're, coming from my role as chairman of the board, to think that I can actually judge those jobs as mundane and replaceable is I think arrogant, and I think it's dangerous. I may be the only one who believes this, by the way. But
actually, you're not, and I'm going to vote my own little opinion on this. This to me was a lost opportunity at the conference for them to really start to discuss this. Kelly, thank you. All right, let's go to Rosa, and then we'll go to Link.
Yes, for me personally, a no joy work is, of course, something repeatable, but something that is not bringing me a new value, a new thing, a new learning. And I think so for each of us, that level is different. When I'm learning to program in R, or when I'm learning, even though it's repetitive work, to program in R, for me to learn is very exciting and very engaging. But yes, when I learn and when I want to move to a higher level, that is a repeatable work that I not enjoy anymore, and I will love to have a tool that help me out to move to the next level, while that tool is help me doing the repetitive work that I already know, that I already mastered.
Love it.
And I think so is for each of us a different level of enjoyment, depending of your level of understanding and capabilities on that specific task.
Awesome. Rosa, thank you. Link.
Sorry, I'm gonna have my camera off for a minute because
That's
I'm
okay.
busy at the moment. But I thinking about both sides of this. It's a double-edged sword, right? Kelly had some really good points on the, who am I to judge mundane work? But I think that even the mundane workers, if you think about this as every industrial revolution had a shift in the way we did work. And I'm down here kind of in the trenches in rural communities where people don't even understand how to download an app, and they're scared of AI, and they're scared of this innovation. So when I think about it, and then I'm training a team, I've got, 21-year-olds that are out in their community, and they're using this technology and Google Drive and stuff for the first time. But I'm also teaching them how to use ChatGPT. I'm teaching them how to leverage this stuff to take the mundane work out of their work, and the repetitive tasks that actually cost the company money and time to get these things done, but we want to do it authentically in a way that's very organic. So it's in one aspect, I think about, manufacturing. I had a job where all I did was pull pillows, these airbag pillows, and stuff them in Amazon boxes and then ship them. It was a 12-hour day doing the same mundane, boring task over and over and over for $12.50 an hour. And I quickly hated it. But what if robotics and AI can help train these machines to do that task, and train those people now to concentrate on customer service, on customer value, and to train them in other areas? They're already employees, and they're begging to get an opportunity to do something different that enriches their lives. So I think of it, yes, it's causing replacement, but there's more of a positive angle to this in the future. If we look at using AI as a force of good to generate really fast training, to train these people and shift them into other areas that are really needed, that automation can't solve. There you go.
Awesome. Perfect, Link. Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in on this? Simon.
Hello. Sorry, I was a bit late. I was working.
Excuses,
So
excuses,
I know.
priorities.
So I'm gonna take a different approach to this.
Ooh.
I think it's industry specific. I think the no joy work, I can definitely speak for healthcare. When the electronic health record was created about 30 years ago or 20 years ago, they replicated paper processes and made an electronic version of it. That increased the clinician's time by 30% of just documentation. So for us, no joy work is for clinical folks to leave this up to Gen AI in the best way possible so they can actually go back to what they love, which is clinical care, what they were trained for, not transcribing everything so an electronic health record could get its data. So I feel that's no joy work where it might be different in the finance industry, it might be different in the DMV industry. I'm just thinking of all the different industries. So, but in healthcare, it's very evident what no joy work was. And when I spoke to my, after the AI conference, I spoke to my doctors, they were so excited. They're like, could we have our own avatars that can go and attend admin meetings? Because they hate administrative meetings. So I think it's going to really change a healthcare, and every corner in healthcare has no joy work that nobody wants to do. So I think it's going to be a game changer for us. Like I already have like 4 or 5 projects listed. So just a different perspective.
So I want to clarify something, Simon. You said that healthcare electronic records increased the labor?
Of course, it increased because so old school. My dad was a family doctor. He's now retired. He would have a paper chart. He would have a note in front of him. He would have eye contact with the patient. He would interact with the patient. He would write notes. And then he would close the notebook. He would file it in his file folder, which as a kid, I used to go and help in his office and I would organize those files. Everything was manually done. Billing was manually coded and sent. We had a little floppy disk that we sent to the Ministry of Health in Ontario. But with the electronic health record, the way it was built, it just replicated. Rather than building a new way of doing medicine, it replicated the paper process. And yeah, it slowed everything down. So physicians have burnout. They have 30%. That was a paper. That's what I'm quoting. They have 30% more manual work that they have to do, which is unpaid. It is not billable. And these are, and this is what we feel AI is going to come and just change the whole industry, where we can get back to having these clinicians focus more on the patient than typing on a computer screen.
So the no joy for a doctor would be filling out these electronic health records. And if we can eliminate this, this will enable doctors to focus on patient care.
On direct patient care.
On direct patient care. I love this. So I want that. All right. So I like that this is really helpful and insightful, that it's really truly industry specific and not just other mundane stuff. Thank you, Simon. That was really awesome. Jian.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Jian.
Yeah. I just suddenly thought I need to give you an example in my AI system that our company is using. So we use AI now to screen the clients that this clients of mine, I just almost try to say patient, but anyway, only 14-year-old. So for BMI, normal BMI for adult is above 16 years to whatever older. And then there has a chart that anything above 30 BMI that you considered overweight. And then if worse, you go obese. And so the system AI screened out right away, only take like 30 minutes right after the application file in. So, and then the system real quick immediately sent the email note to the patient, to the clients that says you be declined and your application is rejected. Oh my God.
So where's the no joy work?
Yeah, it's upset because it's African American. His dad is 64, 6 feet and 4 heights, and then this baby is only 14-year-old, and he's in hormone stage, and then he's a little chubby, and then and all that threw out to me.
So Jen, so what was the point?
The point is the
yeah,
AI has do the job that no joy, but actually create a lot of work that meaningless. So we can call that meaningless part of work is no joy work.
So you're saying even though the AI can do the no joy work, it's also creating additional no joy work?
Exactly.
Okay. Creates new no joy
No
work.
joy work.
So
Additional
it's not
burden.
actually solving any problems.
Exactly. And
Interesting.
cause more trouble because you have spent tons of emotional try to calm down. It's like we try to work for you. He said, no, 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 no. If you don't prove me, and then with this issue, I'm going to, whole family is not going to go be with you.
And I think that's a high risk with this. And
Exactly.
I
cause
think I
high
love
risk
that.
and cause your business, cause your profit, and everything
Absolutely.
goes down.
And I like that because it really leans into this dilemma of while we're working towards eliminating these tedious tasks,
Exactly.
and that sounds great. These risks of devaluing the human labor at the same time is very, very challenging. So let's move on and let's talk about these augmentation effects. By the way, before I move on, was there anybody else who had any last points on the no joy work defining what that is? I should have asked. Okay, Victor, you got one more thing on the what is no joy work?
Yes, just considering Simon's example, I think maybe it warrants adding to the list that no joy work involves friction and
Sorry, friction?
friction.
Okay.
So, for example, writing medical notes versus getting a system where you now have to navigate drop downs to pick a value out of a system versus maybe where we're headed next, which is text to data, I mean to say voice to data, where all of a sudden there's less friction and you don't define the documentation in terms of joy or no joy anymore because it's just part of the job and it's frictionless.
So that's the future that you're painting. That so you're going from a no joy world and we're eliminating that by removing that friction, and then we're creating a universe where there's no friction.
I guess what I'm saying is friction may be a defining parameter of joy or no joy work
I see. Okay.
in a general sense.
So that personal experience of friction. I love it. All right. So let's move on. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing good. So I want to talk about the augmentation effects. And so again, what are the augmentation effects? Voice to text equals overjoyed world. Sima, yeah, I love it. So again, the augmentation effects are referring to the generative AI tools that enhance human productivity by assisting us directly with the tasks that we do. And again, this is supposed to, unlike medical health records, Sima, increase the overall efficiency and output of people. So the question that I have is, how can AI tools enhance this creativity and this decision-making process? I want to explore examples of these tools that are currently used. Like, what are you guys doing right now that to augment your human productivity? Anybody using AI right now and it's augmenting their work? Garrett.
So I've been working on this project that we're basically building a co-pilot for some managers in our company. But the interesting part is we don't know, like we know it's cool, but we don't know it works. We don't know if they're gonna get value from what we're trying to give them. Like if they have like a bunch of data on, let's say, some support ticket, and we try to summarize that for them, that summary could be missing the critical detail. We don't know, like they can't be 100% confident yet with this co-pilot that we're telling them exactly the things they need to know, because the summary, it's just going to say what it thinks it needs to know. So it's not 100%. That's the hard part. And then you need to measure, is the cognitive load higher or lower when you're using the co-pilot? You don't
Love that.
There's not a lot of clear answers on that kind of stuff yet. But it does have a lot of good effects for me. When I'm a developer, I use ChatGPT all the time and Cloud and all these things to help me write code, write unit tests, stuff that is busy work. I can get done a lot faster. But when it comes to certain pieces of the business, it's a little bit more of a challenge, I think, to utilize it and actually augment it effectively.
Interesting. Love it. And by the way, we're gonna have to peer pressure you to come present what you're working on here one of these days. But I like that concept of cognitive load and is it higher or lower, and that you're going through this experimentation. That's really insightful. Garrett, thank you. Simon, and then we'll go to Dawn.
So I'm actually using it right now on my next screen. So
Are you cheating in this conversation?
No, augmentation for work, because I'm using GPT. So okay, sorry. So I probably am the second worst coder in HBAP after Mr. Kimball. So I am horrible in SQL, yet I'm in analytics and AI, and I have a team that does all the code writing for me. Since we got our own GPT-4 within our hospital walls, it has been a game changer. Like, I can literally take a code that's written by like brilliant coders, put it in and say, tell me what this is doing, tell me where it's scanning blood for blood transfusion, and give it the right prompts. And it has fast-tracked my way of problem solving like tremendously. So and then I can even ask it, like, if this code, like, how would you improve it? Where, like, and it's been amazing. So I think for people like me that are in tech but are not techies, they're more from the business side, this definitely will help me manage my coders, because they cannot pull a fast one with me anymore. I'll be like, I know what you did, because I'll just put it through GPT-4. And so that's an example. I'm actually trying to fix a problem right now through the one of our processes.
Love it. Awesome. That's really exciting to hear, Simon. Dawn.
Yes, so I would say, reaching back to my customer experience days, that it really allows you to do personalization at scale. So if you think about, if you're a marketer or in hospitality or any kind of like area where you want to be like high touch and try to build a relationship or a connection, it allows you to do that. It, unlike anything I think before, but the irony of that to me is that it still doesn't come close to being able to replace or replicate the impact that a personal interaction can have with your user or your client or your customer. So personalization at scales, what I would say.
I love it. Interesting. Anybody else want to talk about the augmentation effects and what you're currently seeing? How are these tools currently used to help your productivity? Garrett, again.
I have another example. So I have a buddy who's been a mechanic his whole life, and he recently went to start his own business as a pressure washer. And so he went and got a truck, a pressure washing truck, but he has to build a website. He has to build some sort of way to advertise it, and he didn't know the first place to start. And then I showed him ChatGPT, and the first time he's seen it, he was blown away. All of a sudden, now I'm seeing his Instagram. He's making these posts, which I can tell they're AI generated, right? But his website, all this stuff, at least he has a place to start, which I think is something that a lot of people can benefit from with this augmented process, because he's good at pressure washing, but he's not good at advertising it. And he can ask it, he can augment the stuff that he's not good at as a self-employed person. So
love it. So Kelly, you just put in the chat that you're still on the no joy concept. It's going to live in your brain for a few hours. I love that. So talk about that, Kelly. Why are you still on the no joy concept? And we'll relate that to the augmentation effects.
Oh, because I'm too old to multitask. So I get one subject and I just stick with one subject for a while until it fades off and I never remember it again. And that's why.
So do you think that the augmentation effects that we're seeing, will that lead to job satisfaction and growth?
Yeah, I think, well, for me, look, I think this links to the no joy part, because when I'm very much opposed to having management decide what's joy and no joy in employees' lives. But if we teach each of the individuals how to use the tools that are available to them, that are readily available to them, they can decide in their own work, that what is no joy, and they can actually augment, their productivity that way. I have no problem with that at all, and I think that's probably a good use of it. But my issue is just what I say. I'm still in the no joy is just the concept of me trying to determine what jobs I can create efficiencies. There's no question with AI. I can make more money by using AI. But I don't want to, let's not kid ourselves that, I'm taking joyless work out of the equation, because there's a lot of joy in that work to a lot of people who are trying to feed their families. So anyway, that's why I'm back on that. So I don't want to harp on that.
And in fact, but this is actually the common theme for what we want to really discuss here, and to not to really criticize Mary, but to really analyze why she's thinking this, and this perspective of this optimistic perspective from a business leader.
Yeah, and I don't think Mary's like thinking about efficiencies so that she can, create a better bottom line. I don't think she's an evil CEO. I do think, though, that we have, as a society, have got to figure out how AI is going to play a part. And it can't, I don't think, and I don't think we're going to avoid this. So I'm not probably, as I say, I think I'm alone in my fellow business, leaders' point of view. But I think that we leave it to the worker to decide how AI is going to impact their business, and not leave it to those of us who are trying to just simply pull every dollar out of the company. Now, if there's competitive pressures that require us to we'll no longer be able to compete with companies that are using AI to the fullest extent, then we've got to make that, we got to figure that out. Otherwise, this is such a, I go in 50 different directions. I think about this a lot. We are literally, AI is offering us the opportunity to be a race to the bottom when it comes to the quality of the work that we provide. And I think that most companies will take that opportunity to pull every bit of cost out of their company, and it'll be a race to the bottom.
All right. So you just said quality will decrease. Explain that. Why would quality decrease?
Well, I think it was done wrong. I think quality decreases if we take the human element out of it. We might, there's a soul to a company, and what we're at risk at is pulling the soul out of the company. Now, is there value to that soul? I believe there is. I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't think that. They think employees and employee satisfaction and the fact that people, the family-oriented sort of company is a luxury and not a necessity. And I just think that we're not smart enough as a group of leaders to actually do the right thing here. And I don't mean the people in this room. I mean that, I think Mary has every, has her intention is good, and I don't know what she would do with this, but I think that leaders, especially in larger companies, are not would use this as an opportunity to pull the money out of the company, and by doing so, will pull some of the soul out of the company. They have one to start with. Maybe
if they had one to begin with.
Yeah, if they didn't, then maybe this is a great idea. But
okay, exactly.
But I think that's the problem we as leaders are facing here. What extent are we going to use this to create efficiencies which are positive to the workforce? And when do we cross the line to the point where we're no longer creating efficiencies that are positive to the workforce, that's positive to the shareholders, and which could be a very short-term strategy if we are in fact pulling that soul and that culture and the excellence that the employees bring to the product and service. If it's simply it's a machine that's doing it.
And you're jumping so far ahead, and this is actually one of the things that I wanted to get to, is you're dealing with, you brought up the shareholder concept, and this really has to do with Milton Friedman versus Freeman, the stakeholder theory versus the shareholder theory. Maximizing shareholder value is the only thing, or one of the only things, that a CEO can point to very easily and say, yes, we're increasing our profit. It's just a simple number. the stakeholders, the value of the employees is what's at risk here. And so how do we navigate? How do we deal with this arguably existential threat to the workforce so that we don't lose what we've built? I think this is the greatest dilemma that I think we're going to be facing. And
well, I don't think it's an if either end. I think that if you're in a business where pulling out every human being out of the business, and there's pulling out the soul of your business, the culture of the business, if that has absolutely no impact on the customers, then I don't see that in very many businesses. But if that's the business you're in, hopefully businesses that actually do gain from good customer service, who do gain from having real life humans, involved in the process, that they will win. And in the competitive world, it's not going to be a race to the bottom. It's going to be a quality issue, and that's what I'm banking on. But anyway, I mean, look, we're so early into this. I don't want to take over this chat with all of this stuff. I just I have so many things I feel about the AI I'm literally bipolar on this.
And this is what I think that many leaders are actually facing as well. I don't think you're alone. But I'm going to come back to you when we go onto the unit and talk about the replacement effects, because removing humans from
my mind shortly. So
that's okay. Removing humans from the organization, I think, is what you were just starting to talk about, and we'll come to that in a second. But I want to get to Victor, and then we'll go to Mafe.
Okay, so I have 2 points to add to the discussion. One of them might actually be in replacement effects. The first one is an admission that is backward looking, that I struggle to sort out my thinking with regard to automation versus AI, because my career in the beginning was about writing software to automate processes. And I can think of AI as automation, but at the same time, there is a difference between, and I think Simon alluded to it earlier, the one-for-one, step-by-step automation of a manual process versus this, quote, black box of AI that does more than that and sources information differently than that, and has impact, to Kelly's earlier point, positive or severely negative potentially, well beyond step-by-step automation. But when I think about augmentation effects or even replacement effects, I think still in terms of this higher level assumption of automation. So with that said, I want to go to change management. And the idea of turning a joy job into a no joy job for somebody, because there may be an improvement in their efficiency, even in their productivity, which may make them feel better about their contribution. But at the same time, the fear of the change, if it's not managed well or implemented well, could turn it into such a burden that those other aspects won't be realized by any given individual, because they have that fear that you talked about earlier, Todd, of AI taking their job. So I have to throw change management in there as a core element of mitigating augmentation and replacement effects, or let's say the fear of those, by properly framing, training, implementing change.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks, Victor. Mafe.
Well, this is a loaded conversation.
Very much so.
In a sense that I think no joy work is actually personal, because there is what's called passion. We could be passionate about something. It could be repetitive for one, but it's something that is meaningful for the other. And one that I think for work, it has to be meaningful. For an AI model or anything like that, it must make sense. We could do the best model, but without intention, it doesn't mean anything. And so I'm in my experience right now in doing some projects with school in AI, like one, we have in computer vision, we were taught how to actually identify plants, for example, and how to define what kind of plants and all this. But how meaningful is that if we don't involve the indigenous people from those areas who actually have experienced the way this plant works, how this plant had actually affected their lives, how it healed how it healed their wounds for them, or how the inherent qualities of their plants that AI cannot really capture without these people having those generations that understood soil, plant, and the living conditions in different areas of the world. It's not just in one area that we could identify it, but to consider the people that live there, that actually, how do we capture those intelligence from those people? So it's one to replace that, oh, it's actually tedious to identify all these plants. Well, from our end, who is not there to actually have it day to day, and it's not our gathering our food and boiling it and all these other things, it's tedious. But for them, it's meaningful. It's the source of their joy, and it's actually meaningful to their culture. They actually offer it to God for something else. So there's more to this thing than just creating a model, and for us to connect it to what would be what will serve us a long time, because we could create all these things that actually generate more problem because it actually use computational power, but then it doesn't give any produce. There's no production. Like, for example, how many collection of feedbacks from customer are there collected by companies, but how is customer service affected by that? Is the customer service change? Why won't they create a better product that there's no necessity for customer feedback because people are satisfied with the product, and then it ends that kind of problem, instead of creating more models to identify priorities of handling customer feedbacks. So there is more that we need from humans than just augmenting it with AI.
I think that's really a compelling question. I do believe that one could use machine learning and generative AI to help with those tasks of prioritization of the feedback. Unfortunately, I'm under the impression that we're going to lose a lot.
But then you have to solve the
members.
problem. First of all, why do we need customer feedback? If you don't have good products, then you constantly having all this feedback. But if you change your product and deliver a better product, then it eliminates or diminish the feedback, the negative feedback. If it's positive feedback, it's great. It confirms what your product is. But if it's negative feedback, why don't we address those negative feedback?
I'm assuming that smart organizations are addressing that.
But did Microsoft address that?
Okay.
If you call Microsoft, how many turns do you have to go and didn't even find the answer you needed? The bigger they are, the more difficult it is, while they are investing more into this customer service.
Beautiful.
I'm just citing one example.
I love it. It's a great example. All right. So let me just see if I've got through my notes here. Are there here's another question I had. It's like, are there any risks of over-reliance on artificial intelligence for these critical decision-making? And how can those risks, how can we mitigate those risks? If we're augmenting humans from that decision-making process, that augmentation effects, what are those risks? That we get it wrong. I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head here, Mafe, this customer feedback collection. That's one of the risks. If we're not paying attention to it, we're not listening to it, that's definitely one of the risks. Anybody else have any other thoughts? Rosa?
Yes, I think I just mentioned in the chat, IBM make a very good point that what these models are using is public data and public information. And how do we de-risk this is using own data and creating our proprietary machine learning models to provide the right information from our company's data and our company's processes and information. I think so that is a way to de-risk the augmentation efforts that is not using not curated and not mostly true information.
So I'm not sure if I completely understand. You're saying that the data is being used is not correct or not properly obtained?
It's basically open to anybody, and anybody can input in that data and could input the wrong information, the devil information. While if you are using a specific curated company-owned data or data that is truly is that augmentation effect is gonna make a big difference because it's gonna provide the right steps for you, the right customer service for you, the right for your specific company needs and your specific company information.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Victor. And then anybody
Yes.
have any last comments on augmentation effects?
Sure. About the risk that you mentioned, it strikes me that a huge risk of AI is that I'm not going to use the word automate, that you build a model based on the status quo and you lock yourself into what you've always done. That you're not thinking in a forward-thinking manner about what could be. You're just gathering data and having a model perform a task without really truly innovating.
Interesting. That is a risk of having a model that is not that it is only based on the status quo and that it can't handle out of bound stuff. And again, that's a machine learning limitation. I think with the generative AI dealing with those out of bound scenarios in an agentic world, I think that those problems we will start to see them fall away, I should say. Okay. Augmentation is to value add. Jack, I don't understand that. I'm cold calling Jack. If Jack's at a microphone, we'll give Jack a second. I know he's not oftentimes available to speak. I'm not sure I followed that. Add value. Augmentation is a add value. Okay, yes. Okay, I agree. All right. Let's see. I want to talk about the replacement effects. And I think Kelly was kind of hinting at this earlier. So, which industries are most vulnerable to these replacement effects? Why? And again, the replacement effects are where we're literally able to fully take over the tasks that were previously performed by humans. I think this is if we're going to get rid of no joy, and what I do for the organization is considered no joy by my boss, eventually they will put in place an artificial intelligence technology to literally replace me. And how do we deal with that? This is robots taking over assembly line jobs. Again, like these are not the droids you're looking for, but these are the droids that the CEOs and the stakeholders of most businesses are very interested in. They want to replace the worker from the workforce. And I guess so my question, Kelly, I'll start with you. I'm cold calling you. What do you see as the most vulnerable to these replacement effects? It's like, is it the industries, is it workers? And then ultimately, how should society balance the benefits and these efficiencies and the cost reductions with the ethical needs to support these displaced workers?
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know which industries. I don't think it's an industry as much as it is you're going to have you either have a company that understands the value of the employee, or you've got a company that only caters to the shareholders without acknowledging that having a positive employee, workforce actually increases your value, increases your revenue, increases your margins. So I think really my answer would be, in a very crude term, is whoever the assholes on the second part of that equation are the ones that are going to affect their businesses, first. I think they're going to rue that day, though. I think they're going to people are going to have to come back. I think a competitive advantage is going to be to those who actually have who don't seek merely as to create efficiencies. I think. I don't know. I don't think any of us know. I think this whole discussion is like we're just at the snowflake on the top of the, on the top of the whatever the analogy I'm using. What is that thing? The iceberg. Thank you.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, the tip of the eye, and we don't know yet, but I'm hoping that we find value in humans and that everything becomes a sameness if we replace humans with AI. And I hope that the consumer actually gives a shit. And I'm banking on the fact.
Historically, at least in this country, we've offshored a lot of our manufacturing. Does the consumer care? I don't know.
I'll tell you what, though, but there's an argument to be made for American made. I mean, look, we have that in ads all over the place. So there are people who value certain things out there, and some may value the fact that this, it isn't simply a machine. I mean, there are things, I mean, the government work, although I would argue that I'm in the middle of government work, and that there's a ton of value to the people that we employ in government work. But if you look at society, they probably say, go ahead and replace that, because I get no joy from dealing with the government. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. I really don't. I mean, I was just texting Sima, and saying I love this conversation because I feel like I enjoy listening to it and I enjoy participating in it. But I feel frustrated because I don't know the answers to this stuff. I don't think any of us do. And what are the replacement effects? I think the replacement effect, to me, in my world, is a dumbing down of a culture. It's a dumbing down of the human. It's the devaluation of the human impact on our companies, and I hope to God there's a negative impact to that.
Love it.
There is
that is ultimately the risk.
Yeah. Anyway,
Kelly, thank you. Yeah, and your insight's always important. So please, thank you, Kevin, and then we'll go to Dawn. Hi, Kevin.
Hello. Joined a little late, so if I repeat anything, sorry, but I'm on this topic. I mean, I started in software, and back in like the late 90s when the internet was coming around, and hey, internet's going to replace everything, and it was almost the same conversation. It's going to replace all these people that did this because we're going to build internet sites that are going to, I can check my balances without a person. I don't need a teller at the bank or whatever. I can do everything banking online. And just as an example, or customer service reps are going to be gone. But I feel like what's happened, though, is yes, there are less bank tellers, there are less customer service people, and I can do a lot of self-service stuff online. But when I do need a person, I'm always kind of trying to get through the automated stuff to get to a person, like 0, representative, like get there, So they're still there. They're still important. There's less of them. But at the same time, there's also a lot more software developers or other, IT people and computer technicians. Like I don't think there was like a net loss of jobs necessarily, just the available jobs shifted, right? There were new jobs created by the internet, and there were some jobs that you didn't need as much. I can see the same thing happening with AI, where there are gonna be some things that are gonna be taken away or reduced, because AI can handle the majority of cases, but there's still, the human element thing keeps coming up. There's still gonna be that human impact, that human element. But I think there's also gonna be a shift to a whole bunch of new jobs, just as there was back when the internet came around and took things away.
Okay. So, and by the way, this is one of the questions, Kevin, I'm going to ask it to you. I've asked that question to more people than I can count. Everyone says that we need to prepare the workforce for the future of AI, and we need to upskill and reskill. What jobs, what are the skills that we should be, as educators, for example, teaching people?
I think, an example, the CEO of the company I just finished working with, he gave an example of, he put into a ChatGPT, he's like, write me a legal document that does this, that, and that. And it cranked out, whatever, 5 pages of the legal document. He's like, is this going to work for us? No. But did this just save me like 2 hours of what I would have been doing before to just get something down? I'm already in edit mode now. He's not a legal person, but like the legal person could then be in edit mode like right away. So again, as we talked about, it's just efficiencies. So efficiencies to get things done. Maybe that means your business grows faster. So you need just as many people. You're just doing more business. And then to Kelly's point, making those shareholders really happy. So I think the skill is going to be learn how to use AI to make things more efficiently, make things get done more efficiently, because if you don't, I think you will lose out to other businesses. I think they will, because they will find a way to get that done. Just as if you didn't jump on the internet bandwagon back then and have things available. I mean, if you're an airline that was still only taking calls and not offering tickets online, you would have lost. You'd have been out of business very quickly. I'm not sure I really answered your question or just talked more, but
you're
that's what you got.
hitting this, and I like this. It's fine. I have more stuff about this, about the AI-driven future, and about about dealing with this upskill, reskill, and what skills should we be doing. I have a separate slides for that, and I kind of skipped ahead. But yeah, like, and if we're in a competitive universe, and if you're not doing it, your competitors are, and I think that's really important to keep in mind. All right,
but there needs to be that oversight too. I mean, so AI auditing, Ashley put in there. But even with auditors, I mean, you can't just trust that AI is going to do it 100% right. We were even building like a machine learning model that, like, if we could get it to like 85%, that was better than anything else out there. It's still only 85%. That means 15% is still wrong. It's like 1 in 7 is still wrong.
And a machine learning model, again, I'm focusing. I do define them differently as machine learning, traditional AI, and then this generative AI, which is really where the future is. But is at 85% relative to a human?
Well, I mean, it's being verified by. So in that case, it was medical terms.
Okay.
It was being verified by doctors. Like medical people who have been to medical school and could look at it and know what it was saying, like read doctor's notes and know what they're really trying to say, as opposed to what, what the AI was determining. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible that they were wrong also. That's very true. You got some false positives, false negatives as well. They might have said, yeah, that's right. AI said it's this, I say it's right, but it's actually wrong.
Right.
With the false positives, and you guys all know the routine on that. I don't need to go into it.
Type 1, type 2 errors, always a problem.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, Kevin, thanks. Dawn, and then we'll go to Victor.
Okay, so I would take it a step further than just reskilling or upskilling people, to say that one of the potential effects could be that people actually lose the capacity to do certain things. And I had written down critical thinking as one example, and then I saw Dave put that in the chat, because I could see where people become so reliant upon the computer to give them the answer or to analyze something that we just kind of over time lose that skill. And then the second example is our creative abilities. And I think that this is where of all the different places where I see, AI and Gen AI being used, I think that the creative kind of world is one where, I'll be honest, I'm not sure I see a difference between a human and a computer generating something. And that's a little scary. And I could see where maybe we lose some of that creative ability at some point. And that is kind of one of the things that makes us different than so many other, creatures. So anyway, that's
Dawn,
my thought. Yeah.
I need to bring you into my class, because you are describing their exact fear. They are creatives. This is what they worry about, and their jobs are actively being replaced by machine learning and AI, and that's a big scary thing. But yes, will people lose the ability to do certain things in the future? I mean, like, I don't have a basic arithmetic skills anymore. I use a calculator. I use a spreadsheet. My niece and nephew, they can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, but I have no idea what those are anymore. But thank you for that. Victor, and then Simon.
Yes, I want to briefly explore the concept of replacement. What I mean by that is full replacement or partial replacement of a given task, whatever. We learned in the conference about some people suggesting the elimination of use case in favor of experiences that
Explain that. I don't remember that.
are built on AI. And the one that comes to mind that I think is failing miserably, generally speaking, is the call center. Now, it's been quite a while that we've been able to press 1 for this and 2 for that. And now fast forward to a conversational AI, humanoid AI, taking over the role of the customer service rep to try to give an experience that you're talking to a person that's sympathetic to your problem because you're calling with a problem typically and what have you. But full replacement means every case has to be covered in such a way that the experience of the person on the phone is a positive one. The idea of getting that wrong and not having what I call an off-ramp to a human being at every dead end of a menu path in that example
I
is
like what you're thinking, Victor. I mean, so like that call center analogy, it's like, well, AI won't replace all of them today, but maybe we could replace the level 1 service rep today. Again, this is that augmentation effect. If your job or your tasks of your job are augmented today, they will be, or I should ask this as a question, will they be replaced in the future? If
Right.
that's a roadmap, if as AI gets better, let's replace the level 1 rep right now.
Right, but let me push back on that with an example. The level 1 is doing what? In
Answering the phone, hi Victor, how's it going? What
right,
seems to be the problem?
right, but what I mean to suggest is in a self-considered advanced company, they feel like if their script is good, their level 1 staff can follow a script and everything will be fine.
Okay, exactly.
Right?
And I think large organizations do that. But
the mistake would be to now take an AI replacement of the person to try to execute that script, given the fact that the script was probably, and I'll be bold and say never a full replacement effect. It probably was never complete enough to handle all the situations that might be coming through the phone. And therefore, now you've just given a negative customer experience or even a dead end where you can't connect because there's no off ramp.
right.
So yeah, just another, as I said at the beginning, another way to think about replacement effect, not from the sense of risk, but from the sense of outcome.
Explain.
Well, it's a risk to have a negative customer experience, but if the outcome of your quote unquote AI efforts is a negative customer experience,
right,
that's different than the risk. That's a harm to the business.
I see. Okay, yes. And
it's not a risk, it's an actualization
it's
of
an actual bad thing.
right.
But I think that over time, as organizations run these experiments, specifically in the call center use case, they're going to get better and better and better. They're not going to get worse. And if it's getting worse, they're just going to kill it. They're going to say, this doesn't work. We've gotten too many complaints. We're going to fix this with humans. So they're going to just go back to what we know works.
Right. But I'll challenge that, Todd, by suggesting the interaction may seem better, but are they getting better? Are they capturing the cases that fall off because of frustration or no off-ramp or whatever? In other words, if it goes to an off-ramp, if they're that good, is somebody logging that situation to enhance the quote unquote automation or the AI?
Right.
To say, handle this situation so that the overall experience is now more complete.
Interesting. I like that.
The answer is I doubt very much that the majority of people taking this course of action to be an AI call center are thinking in those terms.
I think that they are, because at least the senior leadership is going to be like, okay, well, they live in a competitive landscape unless they have a monopoly. Okay, assuming it's not a monopoly, they have competitors. If I don't want to work with Verizon, I'm picking up the phone and going to T-Mobile. So that's always the risk that the organization faces. So there's external threats as well as these internal replacement effects. But that's a good point. I like it. Sima, and then I know Carol had her hand up, so I'm going to call Carol after Sima because we haven't heard from Carol.
So I have a couple of points. So I 100% agree with Dawn, and I've experienced this myself. I'm known as the idea person in my group. And the more I use GPT-4, I realize that that part of my brain is not getting enough exercise. So I choose now not to use GPT-4 for things that are not my core skills or talents. So what do I use it for? Coding, because that's not my thing. So I do believe that from a creativity perspective on new discoveries and new innovations, GPT-4 is relying on historical information. The other thing I worry about is cognition. And we have a growing brain as human beings until the age 25. And just to give an example, if ChatGPT was around when we did HBAP, I'm talking personally about me, I would not have learned as much as I did because of the challenges I had to go through the case studies, read them like 4 or 5 times, understand them, rather than put them in a GPT and get my little synopsis. So I feel my 50K was a lot worth it with HBAP, without GPT-4, than now it's kind of integrated. Same thing with the pedagogy. They made us really think about problem solving, which is not something we can keep up from a neuro perspective by just feeding GPT the prompts. The other thing is that sweet spot in society where you have integrated technology enough without causing it harm. So we've seen social media being this component where, it was great. It was supposed to connect people around the world. What are we seeing? We're seeing mental health issues, highest rates of depression, body image, suicidality. What does that look like when everything is run by AI? We are, at the end of the day, humans that require social connections. And if we don't have our immediate connections to friends and family, we get that through our barista, saying hello to the bus driver, going and talking to our doctor. So I feel that if we pass that sweet spot as a human society, which we probably will, because we are humans at the end of the day, we want to just keep automating everything, we will end up seeing a lot more mental health issues because of the lack of connection. Something that was evident during COVID, which there was a lot of loneliness, a lot of people dealt with mental health issues. And now we don't have COVID, but yeah, let's have everyone have their own avatar they can chat with. So those are my points.
Love it. Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, everyone. I just want to build on, I think, a few sentiments that have been expressed. And from my perspective, I think that when you're going to have any kind of a conversation with a client, whatever, it starts with the human, and then you need AI afterwards, perhaps. In other words, I think that, with Seema and Victor and Kevin, I think we are all talking about that the human element needs to be the first and foremost, and then AI can build on that. Now, how that is able to happen so that while you're having a conversation or you're having a discussion, so that it's interactive, that's another story. Because at the end of the day, I think that AI will be supportive of everything that the initial human contact will express. But you still need that touch, because that's really what human and AI is about. AI is, what is it? Co-intelligence, whatever. In any case, that's my sense of what I've heard tonight. And I would love to have where humans start and then Not we get the AI starting, we have all the, you know, go here, go there, whatever. The humans start, and then you go to the AI.
Love it. Well said. All right, we're at time. So what I want to do is just because I've got more pastures that we can talk about in transformation effects, and we didn't really go into that, but we have kind of run out of time. And just, you know, the question for the transformation effects is, what are the new roles, the business models and industries that could emerge from all of this? And I think maybe we'll do this in a future week, is to really focus on really projecting what we see today, where we've been in the past, and explore the brainstorm of what the future might look like. All right, so a couple of other things that I have here that I do want to show folks. We all know Derek Ali, and Dawn, you were talking about this earlier, how the risks to the creative industries. And in the video, which is on YouTube, that Kareem was interviewing Derek, this is something I would like to show people.
Yeah. What's the most apocalyptic view about this year? Apocalyptic? Oh man, from your friends in the music business? Just in general.
I mean, worst case, or just the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, worst case, worst thing that can happen.
There could be a button where you just push and it's like, make me a hit record.
Yes.
You know, I think that could be the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Where it's completely all machine generated.
It's all completely all machine generated, right? If the business looks at it as a way where, you know, you don't have to pay royalties to anybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy the production. You don't have to pay the service.
Is Spotify doing that already? Like they're making all of this, like these sort of focus songs and focus music and that kind of stuff already?
From my understanding, those playlists are not doing too well.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I have no idea. Yeah.
Last time
I heard, they keep trying.
Yeah. They're gonna keep trying, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing with technology. It's gonna continue to advance.
Yeah.
Right. But it's, what are you doing with the technology?
Yeah.
Right. You know, I'm sure there's stuff out there right now that can do terrible, terrible things.
Yeah.
Right. But it's, what are you doing with it? You know, and I think, you know, with the people that have access to these tools, you know, I can imagine they're being responsible with it. I would hope they're being responsible with it. And it's the reason why we're looking to develop a lot of these tools as well, to be responsible, to provide these opportunities to, you know, the creative community, to be able to help them, you know, advance. Like I said, being able to, I'm not musically trained. I'm not classically trained, right? I was able to get to where I am because, you know, I'm knowing what to listen for.
Yeah.
And even in those instances, I'm not knowing what the fuck I'm listening for.
Yes.
I just know when it feels right.
Yeah.
You know, but imagine if I'm able to know what feels right, and there's, okay, it feels right because of X, Y, and Z. You know, and I think that is, you know, it's a superpower. You know, I think, you know, like I mentioned, if harnessed correctly, you know, it could do a lot of good, but like anything else, it could do a lot of bad.
So, and the reason why I wanted to mention this is because one of my personal experiences when Derek had presented this prompt that he did, a 90s hip hop song about Mary Erdoes, CEO of JP Morgan Asset and Wealth, blah, blah, blah. Yes, he did. Sorry, Kelly, he did say fuck. It is in YouTube. You're calling him. And by the way, I don't know if this is his specifically, but somebody had created this on Udio. This is one of the songs that was created by Udio. This is, from my perspective, the worst case scenario that Derek was mentioning. It is literally music that was created by pressing a button, and the audience, 1,000 people were in that room, and they were all applauding. And so, to paraphrase Princess Amidala, I'm thinking to myself, so this is how music dies, with thunderous applause, because the AI created what the audience absolutely loved. And I just want to, you know, let me see if I can pull this up, and I'll just see if I can figure out a way to do this. You know, you're not supposed to do live things right now, but this was one of them.
Mary's on the rise, numbers never lie, portfolios fly, making the gains multiply, tick, tick, boom. Watch her assets burst, clients wealth and bloom. She quenched that money thirst, skirt, skirt. Mary's in the fast lane, dollar bills rain, investments can't complain. She's running it up and the wealth's on the chart. Why you doubt her touch? With her, you play smart. Mary, she a queen.
So that was created by Udio, which is the platform that Derek used for that session. And this was a track. Again, I don't know if this was his specifically. I just did a search on Udio to find other songs, and I thought that was impressive. And then I want to just this is a great paper from the Brookings Institute. I'm going to put this in the link. And it really talks about, and the left side of this slide from figure 2 is really interesting. It talks about the combination of an individual's non-labor income, which is the horizontal axis here, the x-axis, and their what is it, the productivity value. Yeah, the W represents how productive an individual's labor is, which influences the value of their work relative to leisure. And if you have to work out of necessity, you're above this subsistence line. And if you go below into this category here, you will perish. The problem that we're facing with generative AI right now, and this paper really goes into automation less, this was written in 2022, we run the risk of the value of people's labor getting pushed down drastically. What this means is if you are part of the capital class who has lots of assets, who can work out of choice or just not work, you are very protected. And what's not shown here is the distribution of the population, but most people fit into this work out of need area. So a good paper worth reading. And I guess want to conclude with a bunch of slides that I normally tell my students. The AI bomb has already exploded, and we just haven't been hit by the blast wave yet. Carol, you kind of mentioned this. In the age of AI, the only future where we thrive is through our human relationships. And a question that I ask my students, because then they are the creative ones, is if you think or create for a living, then will your current job eventually be replaced by AI? And I do believe the answer is yes, because they are creatives. We've seen this stuff happen. You can now type in a prompt, and there's this democratization effect across most industries where anybody can create these things with very little effort. What that means is if you do this for a job and you are paid, you get money for it. If you are part of the designer group, you're at risk. The value capture for these tasks and these roles is going away or has already gone away. And one of the things that I this is more of on the inspirational side is people in businesses oftentimes forget to think about the art of the possible. I've had so many conversations with so many business leaders that like, hey, well, why do you do it this way? And to think with first principles approach, why are we doing it this way? With AI, we now have this opportunity to start to look at what we do, how we do it, and go through and start to tackle our wish lists. And for the academics in the room, parallel this with Mike Tushman, the performance gaps and the opportunity gaps within the organization. With generative AI, as we start to go through these augmentation effects, and as we start to absorb these replacement effects, and ultimately businesses and organizations and leaders should focus on the art of the possible and start to tackle their wish lists, close the performance gaps, close the opportunity gaps. And for better or for worse, as all new technologies, once they're released into the population, there's a bottleneck, there's a lag in the adoption. So that represents an opportunity for organizations that are willing to act fast, so to speak. And then the good news is this. I like to quote Steve Rader. He's a friend who's a program manager at NASA. Humanity will not run out of problems to solve anytime soon. This is great news. So if you're worried about being augmented, or rather, if you're worried about being replaced by artificial intelligence, start to have that entrepreneurial mindset. Start to think about the problems that are facing humanity. And we will find the capital, we will find the resources necessary for you to start to solve those problems. And I do believe that this is, we are entering humanity's Star Trek moment. And we are about to hit an escape velocity. And this is a great paper. Let me see if I can find the links. Put these into the Zoom chat with Ray Kurzweil. There's two here. One of them is an article, did I copy it right? And one of them's an actual YouTube video. And from this article, Ray Kurzweil has a couple of slides in here. This slide is one of his big things, and this represents 20 quadrillion-fold increase for the amount of computation that you can get for the same amount of money over time. And yes, this is a logarithmic scale. This is why we are seeing generative AI and these tools become so incredibly powerful. AI isn't going to replace humans. CEOs with AI will replace humans. Damn, Kelly, that just made it onto the onto the leaderboard. And this is another slide from Ray Kurzweil. Worldwide renewable energy generation, electricity generation, and this is not including hydro. Sorry, was there somebody who had something? Okay, this is not including hydroelectric. So now I'm not saying that he's saying that we're going to solve the climate problem, but this is really good news. Like people say, oh, we don't have enough power. Well, we might, and this is exponentially increasing. So I'm very excited to see data on this exponential increase. And his projection is that we're going to be able to pass 100% of our energy needs in 10 years if we continue down this path of renewable energies. I don't know how that's going to work, but that excites me to no end. And then this is also very optimistic. Declining poverty rates worldwide in absolute terms. And then if you'll notice down here, this is the United States at the very bottom. So where you live and is very, very important. And just lastly, yeah, quantum AI. Oh, please. Yes, that would be amazing.
Nope. I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting until I see God or a checkered flag.
My man. And that is the future of work. We're moving forward. I thank you all for joining me on this. If you have any questions, we can do that now, or we can hang out for some overtime. I hope you enjoyed this. All right, then I'm going to stop recording, and then we can just hang out for some overtime.